Hey folks, we're going to continue working on Spelljammer artwork today. So give me a second here to check my signal, and then we'll get to work. So hold on real fast. Let's see how this is coming along. Check. Let's see how this is coming. All right, that sounds pretty good. Sounds like we're coming through. Excellent. Let's set up our boosting signals here across the Discord, and I shall go into my intro spiel here. All right. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements and illustrate them, publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. There's a slew of links in the description down below to different work that I've produced that's been published on the DMsGuild so far, and it all has extensive previews. So if you're here for the artwork, if you click on the full previews of the stuff that's listed down below, there's probably about 150 different illustrations across those various, just those books. That's not there's other books I have online as well. Those are just the ones that I'm pointing out right now. If you're here for D&D, all the work that I build is meant to be played from level 1 to 20 for both players and DMs to take advantage of. So if you're looking for new concepts or different directions to take 5e and the concepts inside of that game, you are certainly welcome to check out the work. If you think it's cool, add it to your campaign. Let me know how you're using it. Otherwise, other than purchasing books, best way to support the channel, I've just posted that I've gone live on Twitter, so if you want to get notifications when I'm live in the future, you can follow me at Phil Kearney if you've decided to stay inside Twitter space. Otherwise, on YouTube here, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future, and to let the algorithms know that long-form design formats and streams like this are valuable, and that you think they're cool. Hopefully you think this one's cool too. So let's check out what we got going on. What did I say? I create games or supplements, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. So here's the book cover to the current Spelljammer Combat and Exploration project that we're working on. We're 205 episodes deep. We built this one around episode 15 of the stream, so you can go back and see the creation process of this. So what do? We come up with an idea, like deeper mechanics for exploration and combat for the Spelljammer setting that was put out by Wizards of the Coast last year. That's the initial start. Let's build off of that, right? So then we go through and create text, and we after we play test and like how the system works, we hire an editor to help us clean up how this thing looks. And once all of the editing is done, we can come through and we can do page formatting. All the layout works, so all the text sits pretty on the page. And once all the text on the page is lined up properly, like this, we can then go into the illustration like this and start building out the artwork on the page. Once the page is done here in Photoshop, we'll export these illustrations and drop them directly here into the Word document. We then fuse the document into a PDF. We then publish the PDF online, such as those that are in the links down below. So, knowing this, that we're moving forward, we're almost done with this page of art, and that is going to put us, that'll finish us with artwork for this chapter. Once we finish this navigator here that we're working on today, we'll then drop out and we'll move down into the combat section and start fleshing out all the, here's some samples that I had done just as proof of concepts to make sure that I could get the formatting right for this particular book. So these were early stages diagrams, but we'll be filling up the combat chapters, about 40 different illustrations and diagram options that we have throughout this section. And as we move through this section, like we had done with this equipment section, we'll be able to talk about all the different mechanics, narrative options, and opportunities that builds for you in your D&D campaign as well. So, having said all that, thanks a lot for being here. I'm here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this. I do Spelljammer art. Saturday morning tomorrow, I do personal projects and commissions. I'll be starting a new book cover from scratch. As well as on Tuesdays, I do mechanical development. So this text process here, I'm going through that process with a system of maneuvers, exploits, and sustained power effects for martial characters like fighters, monks, barbarians, as well as rangers, paladins, and a little bit for artificers and warlocks, to be able to use a different type of magic in creating action loops and different combat effects to give martial characters more fun options, kind of like how spellcasters get tons of fun options. It's just about having fun options. So here and here, so you can check that stuff out on Tuesday, and then on Monday and Thursday night, like last night, we do illustrations for the Eberron adventure that we'll also be publishing on the DMsGuild. Right now we're doing creature and NPC tokens over on the Eberron stream. When this book is done, we will move out of Spelljammer Monday through Friday morning, and instead we'll be doing Eberron Monday through Friday morning. We'll then take the martial power system and push it up onto the Monday and Thursday. And then Tuesday will be opened up with whatever else we want to do. And then I'll be running a campaign using Spelljammer for my home table. And I'll keep you guys updated on how that's coming along in case you're interested. And we can do campaign ideation here on stream on Tuesdays and on my off days whenever I just randomly show up. So that's my schedule. I'm here a fuck ton of time. You are certainly welcome to tag along. We talk about D&D in general. We talk about mechanics, philosophies, and campaign stuff in general. Long tooth reminiscing like a grognard like me would do. I've been a DM for the past 36 years. So I certainly have opinions about things, whether they agree with your own sensibilities. I don't know. Let's debate it. I certainly have opinions, and I have no fear of sharing them with you. So grab a seat and sit back. Hear the time of lore and yore of grandeur in the past. I think, let's go with beep, 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 beep. Let's find a random pick. Let's go with, like, Saturn. Oh, that's fun. Let's use that. I know that's not the normal spectrum of light. That's something weird, but that's what feels right. Whoa, you were very big. That's what feels right. So let's free transform you, get you down to a manageable size. There we go. Stitch that shut. Oh, hell yeah. That's exactly the kind of mess I was looking for. So, like I've talked about in previous episodes, this orrery station is a hologrammatic display that you can use when not only just to see larger planetary bodies that are in a wild space system that your ship is traversing, but it can also be used with skill checks using intuition, investigation, insight, investigation, and perception. You can look like you can basically do search checks to find objects of different sizes. The large planetary stuff is easy to see, and that stuff just automatically pops out as like orbiting things. But as this illustration will show, like you can use this to zoom in on a planet, and then you can be able to zoom in on things that are like in orbit around a specific planet. By making different skill checks, you can see smaller and smaller objects. And there's a full table here. I'll show you the table, and you guys can pause, because when this thing is published, it's all going to be 100% free preview on DMsGuild anyway, because you can see in the description down below. That's how I roll. People keep proving to me that if I build something that people think is cool, they'll buy it, even though they have the entire thing. They'll give you money because they want you to do more, and that's so inspiring. So here's some mechanics about visibility. Depending on the size of the object, here's some examples. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit more to make it easier for you guys to pause on this. But you've got detection range, which is using the orrery system. There's noticing ranges like bare eye. You can catch sight of something And then there's detailed range where you can like make out specifics, like what's his name tag, for instance. A human at the 5-foot scale, if you want to read his name tag, he's going to have to be within 50 feet. You can extend these ranges by 10, like 10 miles. Like you can notice a human in the void of space up to 10 miles away if you can hit the DC at disadvantage. Like that's really hard to hit, right? But if you get object size, the size of a single map square, if you can hit these numbers, like if you're closer than a mile away. Let's see. Detailed range, the typical distance at which you can observe. Notice range, the typical distance at which you can notice an object of this size with the naked eye, but only vague details. Beyond this range, up to 10 times the listed distance, intelligence wisdom checks to notice an object are rolled with disadvantage. DC, for example, detecting a 250-foot vessel with an Ori that is 100,000 miles away is a DC 22. So a 500-foot object, like a vessel, DC 22, 100,000 miles away. For example, detecting a 250-foot vessel with an Ori that is 100,000 miles away is a DC 22. For intelligence, insight, and investigation, or wisdom perception check. If the ship is farther, the roll is made with disadvantage. A wild space Ori is enchanted to automatically detect all significant planetary objects in a wild space system. As an action, a creature that focuses on an Ori it focuses like a light form of concentration. As an action, a creature that focuses on an Ori can also attempt to scan for smaller objects within a system by making a detection check, which is an intelligence, insight, or investigation, or wisdom perception check, comparing the results against the DC of the object listed above. The Ori detects objects with a DC equal to or less than the result if they are within the listed detection range above. Detecting objects 10 miles or smaller in diameter is imprecise, and objects occupying the same space or adjacent to a larger object can't be distinguished from the larger object this way. So if you can like hide inside of like the shadow of a moon if you're in a ship, for instance. That's what that's trying to say there. If you're closer, like if that human is closer than 1 mile away, you can reduce the DC by 1 increment. So like if it's 500 feet away instead of 1 mile away, the DC would only be 19 for you to detect the human. If they are 50 feet away, it obviously goes from 19 to 16. So you can see how these things are. These things, like it's 1 mile is 22. So 500 feet would be 3 steps down, would be 19. 50 feet away would be 3 steps down, which is 16. And that is how that coincides with the distance of scaling from long range to short range. Like as they get closer, it's easier and easier to notice them. That's why they have that detailed range versus notice range. As things get closer, the DCs curve into each other. 1 mile to 500 feet. This is scaling up because of the size of the object. Like it's easier to see something that's 50 feet in size than 5 feet in size. The DC just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, but it coincides with the drop distance for detailed. So as things get closer, they just naturally move from the noticing range to the detailed range instead. So you can shift gears between these two things. Like how difficult would it be to see a human that's like say 100 miles away instead of 1,000 miles away? Then you would drop gear from 28, 25, 22 would take you from 1,000 to 100 to 10 miles to 1 miles. It would drop from 28 to 25 to 22. Then you go from 1,000, 100 to 1 mile, and you can see here that again that cross references from 1,000 to 100 to 1. That drops you from the detection range into the noticing range. So the step between 1 mile and 1,000 miles would be 100 miles. There's also 1,000, 100 miles, 10 miles. It would drop very easily from 28, 25, 22 down to 19 using an orrery to detect something that's only a mile away. Like super easy. But at that point, you can see things with the naked eye. So you can shift gears between these two things very fluidly from the detection range to just noticing it with your bare eye. You have that gap as the DCs keep dropping in difficulty. Anyway, so that's the thought process behind that. So that's what the orrery system does, and that allows you to be able to just, at any given time, if you're keeping watch, you can just make your die roll to see what you're able to pick up, either while you're just casually scanning on an orrery, or if you're in a crow's nest and you're literally just keeping an eye out, then you'll be able to notice things or detect things depending on what kind of devices you're using. So anyway, having said all that, yabba dabba blah blah blah. Let's keep up. That's what this illustration is talking about. The orrery station, the wild space orrery, detecting things. So. But there's literally no rules in the Spelljammer guide to describe that. So we had to make up those rules. So we did. They're fun. They're really, really fun, and it makes it easy for you. Like if you're in atmosphere, all the distances are divided by 10. If it's like a smoky, thick, dingy sort of atmosphere, then you can reduce the visibility distance by 100. If you're underwater, you can reduce things by 10. So it becomes a really good a good benchmark in general for just noticing stuff. There isn't, like in the DMG, it doesn't really talk about, like you can't realistically in atmosphere on a planet that has curvature, you can't really see things more than like say 3 to 5 miles away unless it's a large object like a person. At most, you're going to be able to catch sight, like have a vague idea that there's somebody walking along a tree line. And 10 miles is a really, really far distance to be able to pick up on that. But it's pretty easy to be able to tell if there's somebody walking a mile away if you have a clear line of sight to them. Obviously, if there's obstructions and stuff, you'll be at disadvantage to do that as well. So the core mechanics that are inside of 5e work. The system works with what is already assumed to be in the core 5e book. It just takes things literally much further in detail, because there's in a normal D&D campaign, when would you have the opportunity to try to observe things that are 1,000 miles away? It's the curvature of the planet would prevent you from just doing that, so you can't. But in Spelljammer, where there's infinite space in a flat plane, you absolutely can. So you have to think about that sort of stuff. And so once you establish these benchmarks in a book like this, it can be just an easy reference guide for you to start, like in this instance, just observing things. Like how far away can you see a person that's floating in space? Well, here's some very easy rules for you to be able to follow. And thus let Bob become your uncle. That's pretty fun. I think I like that. Do I want to be cheeky? Let's grab another color reference here. And, I don't know. Let's do... Let's do some weird ribbony stuff. When we get to the exploration chapter, we'll spend more time in it. So I got to illustrate that section too. The combat section and the exploration section are the two areas of the book that haven't had all its illustrations defined. So over the next few weeks, we'll be diving into that space and hopefully have that stuff fleshed out and good to go by the end of September. Hey, welcome to September. I'm officially on the clock. I'm hoping to have this book done in 30 days. God bless me if I can actually get done. Because everything always takes longer than I want it to, and there are still a lot of illustrations for us to resolve. Luckily, these illustrations are pretty much the largest illustration. Like, I already have all my full page, half page, and these are, I believe, the last of the significant quarter pages that I'm going to need to build. The rest of the stuff should be like, hopefully like a 6th page, 8th page, a 12th page, like much, much smaller. Hopefully. We'll find out. We'll find out how quagmired I get in this. But it's worth doing. And we do what we must because we can. There. And then we're going to take let's take this and duplicate it, and then duplicate it again. Take this, we'll go with select, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Step by 5. Next up, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, step by 10. There. Now we have radiance. Same type of radiance that we have on all the other structures that are being projected through this holochromatic display. Let's grab a sip of coffee here. Good. Let's see, the next thing, so I can stitch this shut. Oh. Small planet. Sun. Large planet. Let's take all this stuff. Left planet. Sun, small planet. Okay, so we got the large planet, the small planet, the sun, the left planet, the orbit, lighting. There it is. Alright, we're going to make radiance here as well. Let's duplicate that layer. And we'll duplicate it again. Let's go with meet. Right. Filter, blur. Let's go with motion blur. How about that? Yeah, let's do that. And then we can go like this, and then free transform, select inverse, and then we can erase across the bottom here to get rid of that. I'm going to need to have a stronger radiance. I want to first, let's grab this, duplicate the layer. Good. Let's grab, that's our uplighting. I need to have a filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Yeah, that feels right. Just like that. Hey, Ornetico, how you doing, my guy? So this is coming along. We're just doing a lot of filtering to create radiant effects. Since it's all hologrammatic light display, it should have that glowiness to it, you know? That's the idea anyway. So what we want to do next is... general radiance, directional radiance. Let's go with, I think I want to select, modify, yeah, here. Select, no, wait, I need to actually select that. There we go. Now select, modify, expand 10 pixels. Yeah. See how that's lining up with that radiance now? That is important. I'm going to take a 10% on our opacity, and then we're going to start filling that in. There. I think I want to... You know what? Nah, I don't think that's what I want to do. Drop, drop. Let's duplicate. Duplicate. There we go. That's the kind of shenanigan I want to get into. And then duplicate again. Yeah. That's the proper way. Hold on, I'm doing a bit here. Get rid of that. Good here, and then let's take duplicate here again, and then we can filter, blur, motion blur. There we go. That's not bad. I like how that sits, so we'll do that. And then we can duplicate. That's feeling pretty good. Merge down, and then we can go to here. We can let's see. Good. That's how we want to be. I see text down there. I'll catch up with you in a second. So, oh, hey, Beefy. What's up, my dude? Working on a character sheet for upcoming. Good, Honetico. Keep at it, my man. Pursue that purpose. Character creation, always fun. Sadly, for every 8 characters I make, 1 I get to play. Big set. Yeah, no kidding, right? That's the, that is the value of letting your characters get killed horribly. The only way that you can, if you're in a live campaign, my only word of advice, not that you ask for any, but the only way you can really get yourself to play a bunch of characters is to have them be suicidally heroic. If they happen to keep surviving despite the odds, if you can't get the character killed, they will become legendary characters and you will love them. If they die, it just means that you get to play the next character. So, my opinion, don't fall in love with your character. Don't give a shit about their backstory. A general philosophy I have in character development is every time they gain a level, you've earned the right to add an extra sentence or 2 to their backstory. Preferably relevant to whatever it is that your characters just did or plan to do. So that way you're keeping your character current with the campaign, but you don't you can't fall in love with the character if they don't have any, like if they don't have a name, you don't know who they are, right? So the less you fall for that character and have the opportunity to pursue the build, the more you can feel what the build feels like, ditch it and replace it with something else when that character eventually dies. I'm a very much a squad type player where I want my team to succeed at their task more so than I want to see my character be expressed as a role playing. Like role playing is like my lowest priority, both as a player and as a DM. I will use role playing to facilitate whatever exploration or combat pillars we're pursuing and whatever our goals are. But your mileage may vary. But that's not that, again, you didn't ask for any advice, so I'll shut up. But to that point, it's the best way to just cycle through characters is to cycle through them psychotically. If I did that in Gamma World. Gamma World 4th edition was great. It took like 3 minutes to build a character, and then you're up and running again. And there was so much random stuff that dying was super easy in that game. It was designed to be a beer and pretzels sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say Gonzo is the word. It was a very Gonzo style game in general. And so yeah, survival was highly de-emphasized. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. But yes, building characters, there's like infinitely cool characters. It's the mechanics that make the character cool, which is why people love 3rd edition so much. I was actually just talking to somebody about that on the internet. Pointy Hat. Was it Pointy Hat? No. Damn it, I can't remember the name, who it was. I was talking about taunt mechanics not being present in 3rd edition, in 5th edition, and he's absolutely right that they aren't. Oops. Let's go with 100% here. Really? Why is that the wrong color? That's weird. Let's I've got oil in my eye. Oh my god. It's the mechanics that make characters so cool, and that's why 3rd edition was like the best edition, because there was so much character options, and every splat book would add just shitloads of new character options. So you were constantly getting new opportunities to like new ways to add sneak attack to your character's build or get extra feats, just like over and over and over. There's more and more things that you could curve together to build a unique concept for your character build, and it was super fun. Let's go here. So 5e brought, like 4e had very, very little character optimization options. Like they completely eliminated the character build option pretty much from characters altogether in 4th edition. There we go. And it was a massive, the way that I described it in the conversation was like 4e was fine. There was nothing wrong with 4e. The problem is that considering how much character optimization and armchair theory crafting and just just creating just abomination level powerful character, like omega power characters using the 3e mechanics, and then to have everything so precisely codified in 4e, it's akin to drinking orange juice after brushing your teeth, where you were minty goodness in your mouth from what 3e would allow you to do, and then to transition into the strict structuring of 4e with the real lack of optimization options altogether. It was a very keyed in game that had pretty much predetermined what most of your character's capabilities were every level for 30 levels, because it made the math of the game work really well. If you eliminated the choices, you were eliminating the disparage between the different classes. It had that sameness between all the classes because it all moved together. It didn't have like the complaint in 5e is that casters are more powerful than marshals because they have more options to them. 4e reduced all options to be the exact same for basically all classes. And after a while, it just kind of, after 30 levels, it just kind of felt like you're looking at 20 pages of feats in Pathfinder 2, right? If you like hold the book at arm's length and you look at all those little blocks, like all of them just kind of look the same. It's like, oh. That's the problem that 4e had. It was the same thing. Oops. It was the exact same problem. There we go. Let's get rid of that. So there wasn't any real excitement about building your character in 4e. It's like, oh, I'm going to build the best warlord ever. It's like, no, you're not. It's just another fucking warlord. What else are you going to do with it? You get your 3 abilities at first level. Shut up. Here's your free magic item that you automatically get. It's going to level up with you as well, so you don't actually need to hunt for gear. It's just given to you. It's like it's too spoon-fed. You don't have to build anything with it. Let's go with filter, blur, Gaussian blur. There we go. That's a 10. Yeah, 10 feels right there. I'm gonna drop the opacity a bit. How can I do it? Let's go, maybe I do this like with a mask layer. See, erases. But if I drop it to 10, we can do a gradient like that. Have this just kind of fade in. So we'll take a smudge brush. We're gonna drop the smudge to 20. And we can smudge the mask that we built. See. Just fade that in. I have this great idea for my sorcerer, says the 4E player, but it's the same fucking sorcerer as everyone else. What are you going to really do? Select some different rituals? Doesn't matter. It was all the same. Like, if you wanted to change gameplay style, you had to change classes altogether. Like, never mind. I mean, you had, like, 4E multiclassing is like what Pathfinder 2 multiclassing is. You're going to stay a sorcerer. But instead, when you have your archetype or your feat crop up, you're going to spend them pretending, like dipping into another class instead of hyper specializing on the class that you actually are. And that was incredibly unsatisfying coming from 3rd edition, where you had monster classes, prestige classes, variant racial class, like if I wanted to play a variant human, that was like a 3-level progression. Like I could deep dive into being an uber human by spending 3 levels in a multi-class for the human class specifically. Like it was super deep delve like that, and to remove that from the game completely without warning in 4E is like, it was asking the audience to, it was just too much whiplash. If there had been, like, if 4E came out after, like, if it went from 3E to 5E to 4E, I think now people would look at 4E very, very differently. They look at, like 5E design is kind of out of control right now. Reining in a very structured progression might be, you'd still want optimization, so it wouldn't be perfect, but people would be more open to a 4E game now than they would have been then. It went from ultimate customization to 0 customization, but excellent balance. And then in 5th edition, like, we need to find a middle ground somewhere here. And if they had gone the opposite direction, it would have made a very, very different cultural experience for D&D players over the past 20 years. Bear in mind, I did not play a lot of 4E. I played about maybe 2 or 3 sessions, 3 sessions at a local game shop during Adventure League. I played a sorcerer. And then when I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting, but I had a hard time engaging it because the combat was interesting, but it didn't have the same flexibility or like narrative depth and decision making that you could have from what I was used to in 3E. So when I started diving into the book more, I bounced off of it, just like I bounced off of Pathfinder 2. Where it's like this wall of just all sameness of these class features. I just bounce off of it. I can't directly engage with that stuff. We're going to go with hologram projection. That's what we'll call that. There, and then this is fun. Hey, Dex, what up, Howard? Considering I've had 2 different unconnected people compared my custom system to 4E, which I know nothing about and have never played, this doesn't fill me with confidence. Well, that now you have an issue of, is there unique identity to the system that you're building? Having a common thread of how to resolve how to resolve tasks and challenges in your game with a unified system is one thing. Having not like if you the problem with 4E is if you take away the name of the ability, and instead of like strength, like an ability would be like on hit deal 4d 4 times weapon damage plus 2 times strength, right? If you were to eliminate the word weapon and instead replace it with tool, and then eliminate strength and replace it with stat, it would be on hit deal 4 times your focus or fetish item or weapon or shield, 4 times object plus 2 times stat. Like that could be a fighter, that could be a paladin, that could be a barbarian, that could be a warlord, that could be a cleric, because it's an on-hit effect that does a standardized multiplier of whatever tool you're using plus a modifier for the stat that you're using. A cleric would use like a holy symbol and wisdom. A wizard would use like arcane focus and intelligence. But if you file off the name of the item and the tool that you're using and the stat that goes with it, and then you just toss it into a bag, when you pull it out, it would be literally impossible to tell what class that belongs to. Where 5e is at, in comparison, is you can kind of feel if something is a rogue ability, like reduce sneak attack damage, instead do this effect. Like that is very much a rogue thing to do. On hit, if the target is your marked target, then deal extra dice of damage. Like that's a very ranger feeling sort of thing. Spend a spell slot, deal X amount of extra D8s, and in addition to that, have this effect trigger. That's completely different from the rogue because the effect could be the same, but the paladin is burning resources to ramp up their damage, while the rogue already has ramped up damage, and you're reducing that damage to instead create an effect instead. Or like on fighter, replace 2 attacks and gain 4 times the damage. Like that's a fighter thing, because only fighter has like so many attacks that you can do things like that with. Or like when I crit, deal 4 extra dice of damage. That's a barbarian thing, because you have these mechanics that are core to the classes in 5e, and then it's just spinning the English of what those things, like how are you cleverly using that unique class mechanic to create new options and effects. If all of your classes have the exact same resolution mechanic and there's no difference in their identity, you might want to explore that as an option. If you're designed to not have a class in your system, then it's not that all the classes have the same identity. In that circumstance, like if you have just like for example, I play with the idea of like only warlocks. I only have warlocks in my 5e game. And if you're a caster, then all of your invocation and spell slots are going to go towards caster-looking kind of stuff. But if you're building a martial warlock, like a Gish Magus warlock, all of your invocations are going to go towards feats and modifying combat options, and instead of spells, you're going to gain like smite options. That's going to feel completely different between, even though they're both using the same warlock spell point and invocation chassis. You're defining the difference between the two of them by the different menu options that you're taking that are completely different. So you can have it both ways. You just have to be able to make sure that the options that you're providing are taking a character down a specific, like you can feel the difference between what this skill chain is giving me access to versus this skill chain. And a skill chain is like a class, and a class has pre-baked skill chains into it. So if you're building an ubiquitous system that you can do anything, then it was actually MCDM that was talking about this recently, and he is a great DM, so I appreciate this. But classes silo abilities, and you cut off access to things. So like having progression, like prerequisites, like the second edition Psionic Handbook, the Psionicists. Like if I wanted to be able to banish creature, I had to have 7 teleportation effects already on my character sheet to pre-qualify to be able to do that. The Book of the Nine Swords in 3rd edition, if I wanted to be able to like have a whirlwind attack, I needed to have 4 or 5 different movement and mass effect sort of abilities on my character already to be able to escalate my ability to curve into those things. If that makes sense. I'm trying to focus more on making various powers customizable based on class, and hopefully add some dynamic. So yeah, all you have to do is be aware of what's the identity of the class that you're building, and if there are universal mechanics or stats that help define the game engine that you're using, make sure during that process that you're creating strong identities for each of the classes. Like Rogue and Ranger have a real issue with stealth identity, right? Sorcerer and Wizard have a real issue with spellcasting identity because they're all the same. The only real difference is that Wizard can prepare their spells on each day, and Sorcerers have meta magic. But if you got rid of meta magic and you got rid of spell preparation, you just stayed with the same spells, Sorcerer and Wizard are like 95% identical, and there's a big identity problem there. Clerics and Druids are basically identical except for the channeling divinity feature that the cleric gets versus the wild shape feature that a druid gets, in 5e language. There's so much same that you have to have class features that pull them apart so you can just tell this is a druid, this is a cleric. But if I'm not wild shaping, I don't know you're a druid until you wild shape. You may as well just be another cleric, which has always been my complaint, that druids are just basically nature clerics, but that's my own personal rant. Anyway, zooming back into the illustration here. I'm pretty happy with where this is at. I think I want to go... let's see, what can I do here? Let's put a pip there. Pip there. I need to have a separate layer for that pip. And I'm going to do a separate layer here while we build these lines. I see text over there. Give me a second. Let me get this under control here real quick. I need to reduce this by like a touch. Merge these down. All right, break. Hey, Beefy. 5e sorcerers are just worse wizards, in my opinion. Wizards have so much more magical potential, sadly. I would agree with that. Hey, I'm going to take a quick tangent here because you brought up the word sorcerer. Let's see. I actually have this in a document, but I'm just going to show you where this is at. Spell point sorcerers. Here's my take on spell point, using color magic, of course, the mana system. The way that I have sorcerers going, again, all classes in my game use a mana pool. Wizards, druids, full casters typically cap at 80 points. So the first difference is I take sorcery points and I add them to your mana pool. So a sorcerer ends up with 100 instead of 80. Not a big difference there. But a big kicker here is the sorcery itself. Secondarily, I have spells and meta magic both count towards your spells known. So meta magic in my game, you don't have a separate list of meta magic. You can learn meta magic instead of spells. So if all you want to learn is, say, a couple cantrips and then a fuck ton of meta magic to modify those cantrips, you can burn your mana on hyping your cantrips just as much as you could burn mana to hype your normal spells with meta magic. So, and then you have a sorcery limit. And your sorcery limit is how many levels worth of meta magic you can stack onto a single effect or spell at a time. So by the time, and it progresses, if you'll see here, it progresses the same as half-casters. So at 13th level as a sorcerer, you can stack up to 4 mana worth of meta magic onto any specific spell that you're casting at the time. And then after we dig through all this document here, all the class features and modifications that we have, we get into our list of meta magic. So we have 1 point cost meta magic, we have 2 point cost meta magic, you have 3 point cost meta magic, and then so far I only have 1 4 point cost meta magic. But you can stack all these things together. Like you could, like in the things that are indented, I'm still playing with the language and looking at optimization. But like delayed spell, when you cast a spell with a casting time of 1 action, you can maintain concentration to delay completing the spell. You can then use a reaction to finish casting a spell at any time. The spell is lost with no effect if you lose concentration. So that's a 2 meta magic effect, and you could add that to, say, convincing spell, which is when you cast an illusion spell, saving throws and checks to disbelieve the illusion are rolled with disadvantage. So I could prep an illusion of a dragon. At 13th level, I have a max of 4 sorcery. So at 13th level, if I were to cast, like, say, I don't know, like creation, the spell creation, for instance, then it would be, that's probably not a good example, like hallucinatory terrain, for instance. That's a good example. Hallucinatory terrain. I could use a convincing spell to give you disadvantage to save against that convincing terrain. And with delayed spell, I could have that spell already prepped up and ready to go. So when someone shows up, I could just pop and make that effect go in. I could, like, say, extended spell. When you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum duration of 24 hours. So, but it would still have to be Most likely it's still going to be a concentration spell. Impeding spell. When you cast a spell that deals damage, creatures affected reduce their movement by half until the start of their next turn. And I could combine that with lifelink spell. When you cast a spell that deals damage, you can gain 1d6 temporary hit points for each additional point of mana you spend this way, up to your maximum sorcery limit. So at 13th level, I could have an impending spell and a lifelink spell, and I could put 3 points in the lifelink. So when I hit my targets with a fireball, they're all going to take the damage from the fireball. They're going to have their movement halved, and I'm going to get 3d6 temporary hit points for the impact. So those are ways I can stack meta magic. Distant spell, corroding spell, like this is just a shitload of spells that, meta magic you can use. And then like for meta magic, it's maximum damage. When you cast a spell that deals damage, if you spend 4 sorcery points instead of rolling dice to determine this total, the spell deals maximum damage automatically. So those are the things. And then your capstone as a sorcerer is your sorcery limit jumps all the way to 10. So you can stack shitloads of effects, and you have 100 mana to do this with. So if you wanted to throw like a lightning bolt down a tunnel and stack 10 meta magic onto it, you could stack up a shitload of effects on top of it. So I haven't published this yet; it's still a work in progress. But that's something that I think, like, you could only take Eldritch Blast for, like, you could buy into Eldritch Blast. You now have Eldritch Blast on your list. You could then use all these meta magics to modify your Eldritch Blast. Or I'm going to learn I don't know, Ray of Frost. And like that's going to be my blaster spell because it's my cantrip. And all this shit I can start piling onto Ray of Frost. So that gives you kind of like that kineticist blaster sort of vibe. And but by being able to manipulate, like leaning hard into meta magic, it gives it a very different identity, in my opinion, from what Wizard is. Because Wizard is still, I have a thick tome book and I have an answer to everything through my spells. This is, I can stack up 20 meta magic effects and learn just a couple different spells to use that meta magic with and do all of this shit on the fly. So that's my take on Sorcerer. Like that's how I think Sorcerer should play. This is actually, I actually have a read-only document about this that I'll probably spend some time playing with at some point with everybody here. Anyway, since you brought it up, I thought I'd point that out because I agree, sorcerers are very same. I'm going to. There we go. That is good. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. And using the color magic system, like if you want to throw a fireball, you have to put one point of red magic into it and then 2 other points of whatever you want to cast that 3rd level. And then the meta magic can be any color that you want. So you can really diversify your pool. I'm feeling something is off here. There we go. I think that's the proper way. I hear you. What time is it? 7:22. Oh my god, it's only 7:22. That's insane. So more mana for more spell bending to create your own spells. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And then because I use the mana system, I have to modify all the subclasses and like all the font of magic stuff that they have access to. I have to modify all that shit. My plan is to publish that after I finish the Martial Powers book. And that will probably be about the time that 1D&D starts rolling out as actual books, like in August or September 2024. So I suspect, I mean, the book is like 80% done. I just have to do some cleanup on it, but it's just using the same Magic Paradigm stuff that I have in all my other Color Mana books. So a lot of the core of it's already done. It's just the special exceptions that go along with using Color Mana. But we broke that all. I'm getting pretty good at breaking all that shit down efficiently. So let's do that. I keep futzing on this because it's got like this little. You can see it's like just like a tiny bit off. I might just have to redo it. Let's try it again. There. Oof, don't know why this is so... There we go. That's on point. Now this one is off point. There. Back on point. Now, I have to do this again here. Grab this edge. That edge. There we go. Did it right. Third time's a try. Is that a phrase? God, no, it's not. First try. Wah! Apparently there's a gap. Oh yeah, I need to merge these down. There we go. This should be fine now. Yeah. So then, if you want a multi-class, you can use the sorcerer as a meta magic battery. Like I might take 17 levels of wizard and 3 levels of sorcerer, and then stack up 4 or 5 meta magic feats onto my sorcerer. But because I've only gained 3rd level as a sorcerer, I'm limited to only 1 point of meta magic per spell being modified, even though I'm a 20th level character. I only gain that stacking sorcery if I stay committed to the sorcery class. That's a theme that I generally use, where you get all the really fucking cool shit if you stay in the same class. And you can always bail out and multi-class into whatever you want to be able to build whatever character it is, but you're not going to get the same level of power and efficiency that that you would if you stayed devoted as a sorcerer. And not only that just makes sense to me. There's not much distinguishment. Like there's not much that once you have the ability to convert spell points into spell slots into spell points on a sorcerer, you get a couple meta magic feats, meta magics, you can pretty much dip out a sorcerer and go into whatever full class casting class you want. There's not much reason not to. Because you get all the goodies, but with this philosophy, you're again having to delay your rewards because of, or you're diminishing your rewards because you're dipping out of the class. I don't know if that's making. I'm trying to use words here, and I don't think I'm doing a good job with it. Oops. You know what? Let's go. Let's get rid of this mask. Delete. I said I want to delete that mask. Thank you. We're going to duplicate this one. We're going to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. We're going to take that down to 5. Period. And we're going to merge those layers. Now we can mask. Now we can mask. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's pretty good. And we'll smudge it all together. Boom, booder, bop, bop. Bop, bop. Bop, bop. Bloom, 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 bloom. Ooh. Working that in. Yo. Let's let's go see if there is yeah, let's go. Let's just go steal something. Let's go with Hazard? No, it wasn't hazards I wanted. It was spellcasting. Hold on. Let's go into our spellcasting section. And I'm just gonna steal a ship. Steal a ship I've already painted because I'm gonna be lazy. Let's go with, I don't know, let's find one that I like. Yeah, let's go here. Maybe this one. How about here, here, bubble. Yeah, I think this one's got the best options. Let's go into illustration here. Craft. Vessel. Duplicate that group in the equipment and ship section. Blip. Oh my god. You see that? That was perfect. Man, my proportions are just fucking on point these days. That was too good. That was too good. Let's take ship. I'm gonna actually reduce that just a touch more, I think. Now that the bubble's gone, I want to help define its shape a little bit better. Still proud of that targeting, though. That was damn good. It was pretty damn good. And this is exactly how the orrery system is designed to work. You automatically get to see the system. Again, you can zoom in on a specific planet. You can see that there's something orbiting the planet. You can then zoom in on that to identify what that object is. You're essentially looking at a DC, this is like a perception or an investigation check or an insight check of like a DC 25 to be able to pull that off. Assuming that your ship is like somewhere out here, like in orbit, like far, like outside of this 100 million mile range. So, and again, that's using the 500. WASP ships are a 500 foot scale. Normal detection range is 100,000 miles. You could try to pick up on it at a disadvantage at 1 million miles. 1 million miles would actually step it up to 25. So you can use these DC tables to kind of float up and down in different size of objects or distances. Just kind of, we build tools, we build rules so the DM can make a ruling. If I'm using an orrery system to detect a 500, something that's up to 500 feet in size, but more than 50 feet in size, so again, that WASP ship would be that size of a vessel. And you're, say, 100 million, like if you are 100 million miles away from it, if detecting it would normally be at 100,000 miles, it'd be a DC 22. If I went to 1 million miles, it would push to 25. If I went to 10 million miles, it would push to 28. 100 million miles, it would push to 31. So actually seeing at 100 million miles, it would be a DC, to be able to do this would be, like if you're in system here, to be able to pull out this WASP ship orbiting that planet, it would be a DC 31 at that range. But the closer to the planet you get, the easier it would be for you to pick up that ship. But because that ship is smaller than the planet and it's in orbit of that planet, it's occupying the same space. So now these DCs are rolled at disadvantage. So the way that we use the orrery system, and when you're making a scan, you're making a detection check. Let's see, hold on, where is it? Scanning for adventure, void tracking, alternatively invisibility, multiple creatures aboard you can maintain. Orrery range can be applied to noticing objects. Where is it? It's void tracking. Roll 2. Okay, here we go. Void tracking. As an action taken while focusing on an orrery, a creature can make a detection check against the DCs listed above to detect a small or larger object that has been previously observed but isn't currently detected. Roll 2d20 together. If the object is within the listed detection range above, use the higher result to determine if the object is detected. If the object is beyond the listed detection range, up to 10 times the listed distance, use the lower result. If a ship or creature is attempting to hide, use the result of the use this result as a DC instead of any DC listed above or is lower. So class features and abilities that can affect tracking creatures or objects can be used with this detection check as well. So you can roll 2d20 at the same time. If you're just doing a blind check, you can roll 2d20 at the time, and then you know what their advantage and their disadvantage results are, and you can use the two of them to determine how large of an object or how far can you see with the better roll, and what's your shittier result with the lower roll. So you can, if I were to roll, like if I was trying to detect that ship, the 500 foot scale, and I rolled 2 dice, and as a result of both of those, one would be like a 15, and the other one was like, say, a 26, then if it was something that was concealed in that planet, I'd have to use the DC 15. If it was something that was within range and a more obvious object, then I would be able to use the DC 26. And you can use that pairing of advantage, just like that duality of dice. You can use that in virtually any kind of investigation, insight, or perception check that you make throughout the entire game, not just when you're doing orrery scan stuff. You can use that dichotomy system to be able to, like, if I'm on guard duty and I'm not expecting any kind of trouble at all, I could always have the player roll 2d20 and say, hey, tell me what your result is. And using what the best result is, I can give you the best case circumstance of, yeah, you can tell there's somebody sneaking up on you. And I could also use the worst die roll as, like, I think he has more people at a distance. So this seems like there's a scout that's coming up on you. But you can tell that there's more people in the distance, like hiding beyond the tree line. But you don't know why they're being cautious. It looks like they're sending forward one person, maybe to negotiate. Like, that's a fun narrative that you can use, like, at the campfire while somebody's on watch. While you're on watch, roll 2d20. And you're going to use the results of those both dice, and you can compare them to see what kind of things you can easily detect and things that are very difficult for you to detect at the same time. So you have a more thorough, like, and so the player doesn't know. The player's just rolling 2 dice, and you don't know, is the DM using the good die result or is the DM using the bad die result? Ironically enough, this is how the dagger, I think the dagger heart system works, where they have the wheel and the woe die. It's kind of the same effect, except that, you know, I thought of it a year earlier. Anyway, rogues can take a quick look at this. Rogue. So I take a quick look. DM warns rogue about the high DC rogue. I hear that's DM 34. DM. So somehow you happen to expand the mirror pixel the ship is at. Yeah, I mean, but you have the ability to scan in and zoom in on those things. Like, oh, I see something here, and you, like, pull in on it because the Ori can detect these things. But that is essentially what we're talking about. But that's what you can do with D20 dice. That's why I keep saying, like, the 5e or the D20 system is such a robust system to be able to homebrew or create with. Because you can manipulate dice like that, and you can add any kind of narrative that you want to. Like, why can you do that with your dice? It's just cool. So, and then again, the character, it's a PDF. It's like this is probably going to be like a comfortable read level for most people that have normal vision. It's like you can barely see it, but it's a PDF, so you also have the ability to zoom in on what is he looking at. And then this is earlier in the book, so when you get later in the book again, you're gonna see this ship. So, am I cheating? Probably. Is it lazy? Probably. But I like it. So I can recycle my own goddamn art. It's my art. If I flipped it, do you think anyone would ever notice the difference? Free transform. There, undetectable. There we go. All right, cool. So all that stuff is done now. It's 7:40. I've got 20 minutes left before I got to bounce for the day. So let's get cracking. Navigator. Coffee time. It's muffin time because I want to die. highlighting here, and then this piece will be done. I suspect we're going to be doing a little bit of extra work on this. I think we're going to need a little bit more time to highlight this than I'm going to have in the next 20 minutes. I suspect this is going to probably take 30, 40 minutes. Oh God, and I still have to do the background. I'm fucked. I'm not going to get this done today on this session. I may very well get this done. Like, I might spend some time at lunchtime today doing this. I'm not sure what my day's looking like yet. But I will not be able to complete this piece this morning. Probably because I spent too much time ranting and looking at other stuff. That's my bad. But it'll 100% be done this weekend. It's just a matter of, do I think I want to stick to my schedule and move into the combat chapter on Monday, so I can cap this off and move away from it. But I'll publish this on my Twitter as well as on Discords when it's done, so people can take a look at it. But this will be the last session that I'm painting it live. So if you want to see the completed piece, you can wait till the book gets published and you can grab it, or you can follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney if you want to see, because that's where I'll post this, or if you know where I lurk online, just keep an eye out for the art channels that I post this to. I might decide to put this on Facebook. I don't know. I don't really use Facebook much anymore. I have a Facebook channel. I don't spend any time on Facebook at all, so I haven't even advertised on Facebook like in 3 or 4 weeks. That's completely fallen off my radar. I'm not a business person. I'm not going into a business rant this morning. I ranted about business enough yesterday. I do not want to spend time talking business today. I'm happy with my path. I know the muse inspires me to do what she wants me to do, to be where she sees I'm going to be. My job is to follow my inspiration, the cry from my heart at any given time. Stay as true and close to whatever those directions are, because those are the ones that lead me to my destiny. The more I can trust my intuition, the more my life becomes miraculous. I used to be such a leaf in the wind when I was younger. Like in my 20s, when I had no responsibilities, I would follow my whim. Always just following just complete whim. Like, I'm going to walk in that direction. My heart says walk in that direction, and then like 45 minutes later, I end up at a house of somebody I had met recently, and it happens to be their birthday. Like, this is literally something that happened to me one time. Go that way, young Kearney. And I ended up at a house party with like 15 other people that I knew. They just didn't know I knew that person, and I wasn't on the invite list, and they weren't even thinking about it. Like, oh shit, hey, what's up, Phil? It's not like they were trying to hide it from me. It's just there was a different circle of friends. Like, they didn't, like, that person didn't even really, like, that person had just met me. They wouldn't have thought to invite me to a random party. But I found my way there anyway, and it was a fucking blast. That's what intuition does. It leads you. It's designed to lead you to where you're supposed to be. And if you can't listen to it, it's because you weren't meant to. It's what you're like. It's like people that rush into houses to save people or lift cars and stuff. They aren't thinking about it. They're just doing. But it doesn't have to be something super heroic. It can just be something as small as, yeah, I'm going to take the peppermint mocha instead of the pumpkin spice. You don't know why, and it doesn't matter why. It's just you're listening. You're listening to your heart. It's whispering things to us all the time. It shapes us. But I have a lot of opinions about destiny and free will. I'll sum them up here for you. We're all destined to do different things. Our free will is how much are we going to go into it kicking and screaming or embracing it. Our free will is being a part of the program or fighting and being angry about it. The difference between an old soul and a young soul is an old soul realizes whatever's going to happen is going to happen, whether you like it or not. So just fucking kick back and trust that it's going to be awesome. And look for what's trying to be shown to you. Instead of being pissed off that it's not. Like when I got my leg infection, I had to stay in bed for a few days in the hospital. It completely, it pushed my entire production cycle back a week. And it was very easy for me to be able to acknowledge, yeah, this is completely screwing my timeline. But if I don't do this, I'm going to be very, very sad. And then that's when I started meeting the people that were there. As soon as I started getting on board with, okay, this is going to be okay. This is just part of the process of me being here right now. Like when you get caught at a light, my reflexive answer is we probably just avoided getting killed by a car crash. Like that light is preventing us from reaching a destiny that was not meant for us. I always say us because I can't drive, so I'm a forever passenger. So I always refer to driving and stuff as us because I'm a forever passenger. But that also makes me somebody. That also makes me a lucky rabbit foot for whoever's driving because I have no choice but to be their passenger. It is their fate to get me from one place to another, whether it was their choice to go there or it was mine, like Uber or a friend, like going to a party with a friend or getting picked up by an Uber. It's like I am destined to be your passenger, and so I don't have to. And since I can't drive, I can't be a backseat driver. I don't know what buttons you have to press to make the thing go. So I can just relax into that process. So in that state of trusting surrender, that is constant training for you to be able to listen to your heart. It's so fun. Clean up that shop a little bit so it's a little less. There we go. I mean, you can adopt my philosophy if you want to. That's up to you. But I generally find this path of surrender, this willing nature to surrender to the fates is very low stress, low effort. Like I don't believe the harder you have to work, the more value it has in your life. It's the struggle is the struggle. If you're compelled to struggle against it, it's because your body is trying to figure out how to surrender inside of struggle. How to be able to be okay with what's happening around you, even though you're struggling against it. And then sometimes you just flop on it and you're like, you know what? I don't think I have to fight anymore. It's because your heart gave up fighting. And you finally surrendered to the process and you're just going to let it do what it's supposed to do, which is what you were always going to do in the first place. It's just that free will process of you fighting the process. Giving up and trusting the process is, again, surrendering your free will to destiny. There's amazing things waiting for all of us. Reality can serve more to you than we can handle. And it's just a matter of us not getting caught up in the details. Just let it flow. As 3:11 would say. So, when we come back on Monday, we're going to crack open the combat section of the book. And we're going to start doing sketches and just fiddling around with what do I need to have on each of these pages? How does this sit? I might push some text around to make it rearrange so I can get the kind of picture framing that I want. It's just going to be that whole ideation phase, and it's like a 35-page section, No, I think it's, yeah, it's 32. I think it's a 32-page section, and there's probably space for like 45 illustrations, charts, and tables. So I'm going to prep all that over the weekend. And after we do our commission stream on Saturday morning, I'm going to switch gears and then start prepping for Monday's stream to have the combat section ready to go. And that's where there's a lot of meat and potatoes, like talking about like action economy, commanding crews, siege weapons, fleets and squadrons, ammunition, repairs, crew ranks, command dice, like all the new crunchy bits that are in this book regarding 5e mechanics and working in larger scale. It's like an introduction to my mass combat system applied specifically through vehicle combat. You'll kind of see how my thought processes work with that stuff. So if any of this seems interesting to anybody that's lurking out there, this is your time to like and subscribe, because on Monday we're going to come in swinging and we're going to start just having fun. I love the ideation phase, the sketchiness of it, like the inspiration, like when I could do literally anything. I have absolutely no idea what any of it's going to be yet. I have no preconceptions. And we'll have creative fun, and once we lock in what we want to depict on each page, we'll go through the same process until it's done. But most of the illustrations should be significantly smaller than what these are. These are very large illustrations compared to like what the bulk of the book is. So let Bob become your uncle. Let's keep smoothing that in. Tomorrow we're starting our commission for the next book cover that we got hired to produce. It's I don't know the name of the book offhand, but it's highlighting a colossal sized demon, like a demonic artifact that's like the size of the Tarrasque, that's designed to destroy armies. So it's I'm looking forward to seeing what that builds into. Now we'll probably be doing that. We'll probably be working on that cover through October. It's kind of a palette cleanser for the amount of Eberron and Spelljammer art that I do. Like having a side stream or like a personal project or a side commission helps me switch gears and keep some elasticity in my creativity. Things that I'm doing here will be able to apply to the cover that I'm going to design, but the cover will help bring different energy into the Spelljammer art that I'm doing. So there's an opportunity for me to be able to evolve during that process. There, that feels pretty good. Now we're going to take this light here and here, 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 this. I'm about to run out of time, so I'm just doing some blocking here, so y'all can see like where the lighting on this is supposed to be coming from. essentially, that's how the highlighting works. Do a little bit down here. Oh man, I just got ridiculously hungry. Whew, man. Have myself some breakfast. Oh, yep, it's 7:59. And it is time for me to bounce. So my timer's a little off. But yep, that's it for today. Yep, that's it for today. So I'm going to bounce out of here. I'll probably finish this up over the weekend, and when it's finished, I'll post it for folks. I need to just blend in that highlighting that I have going on here, and then I need to do some background texturing. I'll probably, honestly, I could steal the background from the Berserker, like this type of a background. I can build something like that, so there's commonality between the two. That seems to be about the best way to do it. So I don't know if everyone's seen this one, but this one was fun to build. Yeah. So that's it for the day. Any lurkers out there, like, subscribe, bell icon, blah, blah, blah. I'll be back doing commission tomorrow. I'll be back doing more Spelljammer. We'll be doing the combat chapter of Eberron. Let's pan out a bit more. Exploration, spell casting, and then here is all the here's where combat starts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. There's 35 pages in total. And as you can see, there are a lot of spaces that we can drop illustrations and diagrams into, depending on what each page needs the most. We're prioritizing diagrams and like map movement and showing how tokens work with each other. That's the priority. But if there is no technical information that needs to be expressed, that gives us the opportunity to just make an illustration of ships and stuff. Ships, creatures interacting with each other, space in general. But you can see here, this is what we'll peel this out. We'll put this into the PDF document, and then we'll start picking the pages apart. And then we can do deep dive conversations about whatever content's on each page. And I am very much looking forward to that, because this shit is fucking cool. And again, it's all built for you to be able to use it as tools, like different tools that you can use. Like if you love Wildjammer, or if you think Sky Zephyr is going to be your jam, or if you like Mass Effect. I think that's the Mage Hand Press thing that they put out. I've seen all of those, and they're all different from what I do. But all the stuff that I have in this book, you could take pieces of this and add it to those other games if you wanted to. So even if you aren't 100% in love with everything in this book, everything in this book you could use in your own way. It's just rules that you can use to create rulings so that you can have a more consistent game for you to have a better experience for other people to play with you. We establish concepts that are universal, that you can apply to your game, and the more that you play, the more you can mess around with how that formatting works for you to be able to build out the campaign that you want specifically for your characters. So anyway, that's it for the day. That's my philosophy in general. Hey, I'm glad Shiner. Hey, damn it, Shiner, you showed up. Hello and goodbye. Good times, my guys. I will see you. If you're here tomorrow, I'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna do sketching for the book cover. So commission that I got. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Later.